Hi, my name's Rob Love. I'm the project manager for the Penicuik Heritage Regeneration Project, and today we've got a schools workshop with the two local schools, the high school in Penicuik and Beeswax School, doing a repurposing project, and I can take you through now to describe what's happening. So here's Tyler Lock-Johnston with Paul Beards, teacher from the school, with the group that we're doing the surveying the Hearse House with the group at the moment, and they're looking at the building condition and also measuring it up so that they could do a drawing later on and come up with some ideas for repurposing the building.
UT5?
You tell me. You're looking at it.
So I would do, put that measurement into one thing.
We're now with the group that are doing the tour around the churchyard, St Mungo's churchyard, with Pam Snell from Penicuik Historical Society, giving the pupils an idea of the history and heritage of the churchyard and also the buildings and their condition within the yard.
This looks like the top of an old gravestone.
We're now with the group that's with Craig Frew, our conservation training provider, and they'll be looking at the condition of the churchyard stone boundary walls in anticipation of another project which we're going to have later on in the year, where the pupils will be coming out to do some hands-on stone repair and repointing work.
You look at those buildings, you look at the top, you've got stone, you've got lime, you've got slate on the roof, and so the opportunity is essentially to kind of work as one of those 6 people.
Well, thank you for joining us today, going around St Mungo's churchyard. We're now going back into the town hall with the pupils where they could draw up the results of the survey and come up with ideas of how the buildings can be repurposed.
The measurements have went over.
Have they?
That was
Second floor,
So this one here was 2.4.
second floor, yep. Second floor, they could call the graveyard history room. Is that what it was? Graveyard history room?
And you can have photos like that.
Yep.
All right. So our next group has just finished surveying the Hearse House at St Mungo's Church. And tell us a little bit about the idea that you came up with.
So our idea was a sort of viewing gallery above the old shed and connected to the tower, and it's just to give you a good view of Penicuik and Pentland Hills, basically, with a cafe.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that corridor that you have there.
So it'll come up from the bottom shed, and it'll have a spiral stair coming up, and it's just a glass corridor. And from there is where you'll get this stunning view. And at the top of this tower, you'll have another window. You'll have a historic room on the second floor coming down, and at the bottom is where you'll get the cafe.
Okay, so our next group has just finished surveying the Hearse House at St Mungo's Church. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the idea that you came up with?
Our idea was to keep no extensions apart from a couple of windows, just to have a space for local artists to go and have just a place to zone out and just draw or paint. So there's inspiration on the walls with other artwork from local artists. So yeah, that's just some inspiration for them. On the bottom, we'd make it easy, as easy as we could for them to do their artwork. So we'd have an easel, we'd have bean bags. We'd just have a good place for them to relax, so they feel safe there.
It's fabulous. So it's a nice little escape for artists to come and live their craft and come up with new things, right?
Yeah.
Now, if I understand, you've also made it into a little bit of a studio for them to stay overnight, correct? So how do you envision that happening?
Well, we've got some stairs that lead up from the centre of the room. They lead up to the dormer windows, and they'll have a desk in front of them with more headspace. And we'll have the bed in the corner so they can stay at night.
So that way when they work into the wee hours of the morning, they can sleep when they need to sleep and work when they're creative, right?
Yeah.
And then is this your existing structure, or is this after the fact?
This is the existing structure.
Okay. It's a very good drawing.
Thank you.
We did a survey of the building and got all the measurements, and then we had to do a scale drawing of multiple different views of different angles of the building.
Okay, so our students have just finished a survey of the Hearse House at St. Mungo's, and what we'd like to know is, what idea did you come up with?
Well, the idea I came up with was to make this wee place for people to put ashes in shelves where it's nice and quiet. It's not really going to get disturbed. You can go visit them anytime you like. With how much storage space we can probably get about 4 rows high in the space, about 2.5 meters. We got just about 5 meters along that way, so probably about 4 rows by 10, so about 40. You probably get about 30 or so at the back as well, so you've got about 100 spaces, which is quite decent at that. Along with the space to make it more enjoyable and connect better, you got a few benches so you can sit and talk to them. Maybe paint the inside white, and maybe put some small windows in so you can get natural light. Maybe some motion sensitive candles as well, just to make it a bit more make it connected as well.
Going through this process, you've gotten a little bit of a taste of what happens when we adapt structures. How likely do you think that you are to go into a construction-related field?
Big chance, yeah.
Yeah?
Doing this today gave us a better view into what surveying and stuff like that actually is, and it appealed to, I think, all of us. So yeah, probably going into something like that would be good.
So of the roles that you got kind of assigned today, if you had to choose one, which one would you choose for? Let's go down the line. How about you?
I don't know, I can't remember what they're called.
Okay, so you've got an architect, you have your quantity surveyor, you have your conservation officer, and then you have your contractor.
Probably architect.
Architect? Okay, how about you?
Probably architect.
Yeah?
The quantity surveyor.
Yeah?
I'd love to be an architect as well.
Oh, so is there a particular role that interests you most or you'd like to learn more about?
I'm not sure what role, but it could be a possibility.
Yeah.
I don't know, I quite like hands-on things, so maybe I would like to be a bit on the building side of things. Maybe like drawing how ideas what I want to do, and then with what I have in my hand, maybe see what I can do with it. Because I like that sort of creative side and hands-on experience.
I'm quite interested in construction.
Really?
I think restoration is quite interesting.
How do you feel about a potential of a future in construction? Possibility?
Yeah, I think it'd be great because there's not many other things around here like that. Or I'm not even sure if there's a thing like that at all. So it's just another thing to draw people to Penicuik.
So you really like the idea creating process of finding that solution?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how about you? If you saw yourself in construction, do you think there's a particular role you might fit in, or are you still examining?
I feel like I'd quite like to work with architecture and stuff, and this shows quite a lot of that.
How about you?
Yeah, I prefer architecture and the design process and all the ideas.